Okay guys, let's talk real quick about how you study for an exam. So I've had a lot of students, and I have more and more over the years, telling me that they struggle so much with taking the quizzes and the exams. And I finally started asking, like, how are you studying? And everyone says, I read the chapter multiple times, I read through the PowerPoint, and I read through my notes. And I don't know, I found that shocking, maybe because I'm a nerd, I did good in school, and I just thought everybody studied the way I did. And also when I went to school, like, all of those other students studied the same way I did. So I just don't know where along the way people lost the skills for studying. So I am here to share with you how I and the other successful students I went to school with when I was younger, what we did in order to succeed in school. So reading your textbook, it's helpful, it implants the ideas, it gives you a basic foundation, but it is not enough, not nearly enough to succeed in a class. Your brain thinks reading is cool, but your brain does not think reading is important. And if it's not important, your brain won't store it into long-term memory. You only have so much energy in your brain. You only have so many resources. And so your brain wants to hold on to the information that is important. And to your brain, important means life or death. It means survival. So if you are just perusing through some pages and you're bored out of your mind because textbooks are generally boring and you're half asleep while you're doing it, your brain's going, this isn't important. Let's not put this in long-term memory. Reading is easy. Well, as far as needing to use your brain, reading is easy. And if it's easy, it's not important. That's what your brain thinks. So you have to activate your brain. You have to use your brain, and just reading and rereading and rereading and rereading. Every time you reread it, you get more bored than the previous time. And something that's boring is not dangerous, it's not threatening, it's not life or death, and therefore it's not important enough to put into long-term memory. So what you have to do is something that activates your brain. The best type of brain activation is where you have to actually experience something. Experience is important, according to your brain, according to long-term memory needs. So if I made you sit in a therapy office and do therapy with someone, you would remember the psychology information a lot more than just reading your textbook. Of course, unfortunately, you can't do that, but as you read, you can try to apply it to your own life, and that is a pretty good simulation of real life experience. If it applies to yourself, your brain goes, oh, well, that's important, and will put it into long-term memory. Another thing that you can do is you can activate your brain through thinking about things. So the best sort of thing to do is what's called active recall, where somebody asks you a question and you have to think of the answer, and then you have to verbalize it. Don't just think in your brain. If you are just thinking the thought inside of your head, your brain goes, that's not as important as if you say it out loud. So the best way to study is preferably with somebody else. They ask you questions, they flip through the chapters in the textbook, and they say, okay, what was the name of Freud's theory? And you have to think, okay, Freud, the Austrian guy, obsessed with sex, psychodynamic theory. And you have to pull that answer out of your brain. And your brain goes, okay, if he or she spent that much effort trying to find the answer, then it must be important enough to keep in long-term memory. And if you can't remember, then the other person tells you psychodynamic theory, and your brain goes, okay, well, there was a lot of effort involved in getting this answer, even if she didn't know it, so therefore, let's hold on to this. And it's the effort that you put into it, the brain power that is needed in order to get to the answer that's important. And if you're studying with somebody else, then you're also asking them questions, and then you're explaining the correct answer to them when they get it wrong. And now you're teaching the information to somebody else, which is also a really effective way of remembering things on your own. I can tell you, I did not remember the information in the class that you're taking when I was a student nearly as well as I remember it now as a teacher, because I have to teach it over and over again. Or even just teach it once. I remember it so much better than when I was a student. I mean, I could teach these classes with my eyes blindfolded and half asleep at this point because I know the information so well, but that's not how I felt when I was a student. So teaching somebody else is super effective. So try to study with somebody else. You know, even if it's online, that still works. You're still studying with somebody else, and just quiz each other. Stop reading the textbook over and over again. Read it one time, read it appropriately, like I mentioned in my other video about reading textbooks. And then move on to a more effective studying method. Rereading your notes, rereading the PowerPoint, rereading the textbook is not effective. Stop wasting your time. Find somebody to study with and quiz each other. If you can't find somebody to study with, or you're a total introvert and you can't handle it, then get flashcards and quiz yourself. You can get real paper flashcards, you can get an app on your phone and carry it with you anywhere, and just quiz yourself. If you get the right answer, put it on the bottom of the pile. If you get the wrong answer, then put it in a pile, a redo pile. And as soon as you get through everything, you go through the redo pile until you finally get through everything and you can answer everything correctly. So write down as many questions as you can think of in the chapter. Go through everything. If you can make a question out of it, write it down on a flashcard, and then just quiz yourself. And say the answers out loud if you can. Like if you're in the middle of something, okay, maybe don't say the answers aloud or somebody might think you're crazy. But if it's possible, when you're studying by yourself, say the answers verbally out loud because your brain believes that's more important. You went through the effort of doing it. It's important. Okay, another little trick, and this is a really bad trick, but it actually has been scientifically shown to be effective. If you eat a little bit of sugar while you're studying, it helps you to remember better. Sugar produces a little bit of an adrenaline release, makes you a little bit more excited, energetic, and because you have more energy, your brain says, oh, if she's or he's energetic, this must be important, and is more likely to store it into long-term memory. Okay, so quiz yourself over and over and over and over again. Say the answers verbally out loud. And that over and over again is important too, because the more times you visit that information, the more important your brain thinks it is. And don't just study all in one cram session. Study a little bit here, a little bit there, and have multiple little study sessions, because your brain, every time you revisit the information, your brain goes, oh, that's important. Let's store that a little stronger in in long-term memory. Okay, so say it out loud. Make yourself verbally remember the information. Pull it up. Don't just reread things. Stop wasting your time. That does not work. Okay? That's how I passed my bachelor's degree. That's how I passed my master's. That's how I passed my doctorate. Flashcards, quizzing myself, quizzing other students, and reteaching the information. That is the only way that you are going to do good in these classes. And if you are struggling, I guarantee you're not doing that. All right? If you have any questions, if you need any help, message me. Otherwise, good luck studying.